One vertical loop used to be front page news, but now we have coasters throwing 7, 8, 9 different inversions at you in a single ride before you even have time to breathe. In this video, we are counting down the roller coasters with the most inversions in the world. We are starting at 7 inversions to add a bit more variety to the list, and let's count the total amount of inversions in this list together. Within each inversion tier, we will go from new to old. So let's kick things off with one of the best roller coasters of 2024. Number 28, Voltron at the Europa Park. This first ever Mach Striker coaster starts off with a unique Beyond Vertical launch to bring you into the first inversion, an inverted top hat. You will then rush through a corkscrew, an Immelman and a 0G stall. And the first half of the layout will be topped off with a dive loop into a turntable. This will bring you into the second part of the layout through a swing lounge, which contains the final 2 inversions, 2 corkscrews. This ends the dynamic ride and brings us to the next coaster on the list. Number 27, Decepticoaster at Universal Studios Beijing. This Transformers-themed coaster is a near-exact clone of another roller coaster later on in this list, so stay tuned for that. Decepticoaster launches riders into a CRG roll, which then immediately gets followed by a Cobra roll. It is immediately followed by the fourth inversion, a vertical loop. Riders will then cruise through a corkscrew and another vertical loop, before reaching the final inversion, another corkscrew. This brings you into the final breaks, and we will head into the next entry on this list, which luckily reopened in 2025 after standing but not operating for over a year. It is number 26, TMNT Shell Racer at Nickelodeon Universe. This Gerstlauer record breaker doesn't only bring the thrill with its steep drop, it also packs in 7 inversions. The first inversion is a slow heartline roll before reaching the LSM launch. This will launch you into an incredibly tall corkscrew, followed by a banana roll and another corkscrew. With 4 inversions down, you will hit the brakes and take the vertical lift up to the world's steepest drop. This drops you into the second half of the layout, which starts off with a dive loop. You will then lift up into an inverted top hat, before finishing the layout with an Immelman. And it's not the last time you will see this layout, because we will have its brother a bit further down the list. But first, we are heading to Sweden for number 25, Helix at Liseberg. This Mach launch coaster starts off with a bang as you are immediately thrown into a corkscrew. This marks the start of the creative layout, which makes great use of the terrain. After a rolling launch, Helix throws you into another corkscrew, which leads you towards a double inversion, the Norwegian loop. Riders will experience a 0G roll shortly after, and then make their way into the second launch of Helix. The launch throws riders into an inverted top hat, and just when you think you're done, there is an inline twist which brings you into the final breaks. But we're not stopping here, because next up is our ghastly number 24, Banshee at Kings Island. This Bolliger Melbyard inverted coaster is the longest one in the world, and it packs in 7 inversions. After a lift hill, riders are thrown down into a dive loop, which is immediately followed by a vertical loop. You will then take a 0G roll and make your way to a double inversion, the pretzel knot. With no time to breathe, you are thrown into another vertical loop and the final inversion, an inline twist. Truly a relentless inverted coaster, but it's not the only one on this list. Next up is a familiar layout, as it's number 23, Takabisha at Fuji-Q Highland. This is pretty much the same layout as TMNT Shell Racer, except for the drop. You are first taking a slow hardline roll in the dark before hitting the punchy launch. This shoots you into a corkscrew, the banana roll and another corkscrew, before you reach the vertical lift hill. After enjoying the view of Mount Fuji, you will plunge down into the dive loop, inverted top hat and Immelman. So we are now at 42 inversions, and as we all know, this is the answer to everything. But what truly is the answer is to subscribe to the channel, as there will be many more videos answering your questions coming your way. Let's continue with number 22, Hydra the Revenge at Dorney Park. Another coaster that starts off with an inversion. I guess it was a trend at the time. This B&M floorless coaster starts off with a hardline roll, or a JoJo roll, out of the station before reaching the lift hill. You will then go through an inclined dive loop and a 0G roll. This is immediately followed by a corkscrew that brings you to a double inversion, a Cobra roll. Then Hydra will take the riders through a final corkscrew to finish the ride. Floorless coasters were popular around this time, because our next entry is number 21, Scream at Six Flags Magic Mountain. Scream will drop riders down into a tall vertical loop to start off the inversions. This is followed by a dive loop and a 0G roll. From there, you will immediately encounter the next double inversion, the cobra roll. The next two inversions happen after a brake run, and visually are a great concept. It's just a shame Scream is a parking lot coaster. You will head through two interlocking corkscrews, so the corkscrews wrap around each other. This is done better by a coaster further down the list. But for now, we will head over to Spain for number 20, Superman, La Atracción de Acero, at Park Warner Madrid. Another B&M flawless, and certainly not the last. Superman drops riders right into a vertical loop, which is followed by an Immelman. This brings riders into a tall COG roll, which is immediately followed up by a cobra roll. We are now at 5 inversions, and much like Scream, the final 2 inversions are 2 interlocking corkscrews. Spain does have another coaster that has Superman beat, but we will first have to go back to America for number 19, Kraken at SeaWorld Orlando. While Mako is seen as the better B&M at the park, Kraken still packs in 7 inversions. After the first drop, riders are greeted by a vertical loop to start off the layout. This is immediately followed by an Immelman to turn the trains around, which brings you into a CRG roll. Kraken will then take the riders through a cobra roll, bringing the total to 5 inversions. After a mid-course brake run, Kraken will drop riders below ground level into a vertical loop, and finishes things off with the corkscrew into the brakes. This will stop riders in their tracks, as if they were petrified by number 18, Medusa at Six Flags Discovery Kingdom. It's not even the only Medusa coaster off this list. Once again, a B&M floorless coaster with a familiar start. After the first drop, riders will go through a tall vertical loop, which is then followed by a dive loop to turn the train back around. You will then go through a CRG roll, which is positioned next to the first loop, which will take you to a new double inversion type for this list, a Sea Serpent. From here, Medusa will finish up the inversions with 2 more corkscrews before hitting the brakes. Our next coaster will look familiar to you, because it is the near clone of the Decepticoaster. It is number 17, the Incredible Hulk coaster at Universal's Islands of Adventure. As we are familiar with this layout, Grump smash through the inversions. From the tire lounge, you will go through a CRG roll, which is followed by the cobra roll. This takes riders towards the vertical loop, which is then followed by a corkscrew and another vertical loop. As with Decepticoaster, the Incredible Hulk coaster will finish things off with another corkscrew before hitting the brakes. And this brings us to another familiar layout and name. Number 16, Medusa at Six Flags Great Adventure. While the name is similar, this isn't a clone of Medusa at Six Flags Discovery Kingdom, but this has the same layout as Scream. Medusa was the original, and this floorless coaster will drop riders into a vertical loop, which is followed by the dive loop and CRG roll. You will then turn around by going through the cobra roll and finish up the 7 inversions with the 2 interlocking corkscrews. This is definitely the better looking of the 2 coasters with the same layout, but we haven't seen the most iconic interlocking corkscrews yet. Those can be found at the next park, but we will have to go through another coaster first. It is number 15, Montu at Buscar de Stampa. Montu is often regarded as one of the best B&M inverted coasters in the world, and I can see why. After a swooping drop, you will head through the first inversion, a vertical loop. This brings riders into a tunnel, which ends up at an Immelman, followed by a CRG roll. You will then head into the iconic double inversion, the Batwing. The 2 inversions that still follow will have you dive in and out of trenches, starting with a vertical loop and ending with a corkscrew that brings you into the final brakes. But as I mentioned, there was another coaster at this park that fits this list, and it only just reopened after standing but not operating for about a year. Number 14, Kumba at Buscar de Stampa. The roar can once again be heard throughout the park as Kumba is taking riders through 7 inversions. The first inversion is already an eye-catcher, as it's a vertical loop wrapping around the lift hill. From there, you will head into a dive loop, followed by a CRG roll. This is all very familiar. It's almost like B&M has followed that formula since the opening of Kumba. Up next is, you guessed it, a cobra roll. But this one stands out, as it also interacts with the pathway. And Kumba then finishes the inversions with another iconic moment, the original 2 interlocking corkscrews. Kumba has truly been an inspiration to B&M, but we are finally going to another manufacturer. It is Aerodynamics with number 13, Viper at Six Flags Magic Mountain. This 35-year-old looping coaster is an impressive sight, with its first inversion being a loop that is quite high off the ground. This always looked so weird to me, as the inversion itself is relatively small. Viper follows this up with 2 more vertical loops before taking riders towards another double inversion, the Batwing. And it then finishes up the inversions with 2 back-to-back corkscrews. This classic era was truly groundbreaking for its time, but it isn't the oldest still operating roller coaster with 7 inversions. That honor goes to number 12, Goodrex at Park Asterix. This Vekoma doesn't have the best reputation as it has gotten quite rough over the years, so let's see how this ride tortures you. After the first drop, you will get thrown into the first double inversion, a butterfly with some weird and abrupt transitions. From the butterfly you will head into the next double inversion, the Batwing. This one is beautifully placed next to a pathway, so onlookers can hear the screams of joy. or pain. From here, Goodrex will take you through a vertical loop and finish things off with a double corkscrew. This finishes the ride and the list of coasters with 7 inversions. We have now gone through 119 inversions. Let me know whether you're still hanging on by pressing the like button. Let's continue the list by increasing the amount of inversions to 8. And we are starting in Guatemala for number 11, Avalancha at Citulul. Avalancha is the first Intamin of this list, and definitely not the last. This multi-inversion coaster is the smaller cousin of a later variant, and it relies on a bit of a gimmick to reach this amount of inversions. Let's start off with the drop, which will bring you into a vertical loop. This is then followed by a cobra roll, adding 2 more inversions. Immediately after, you will be thrown into a double corkscrew, putting the total amount of inversions to 5. And now it's time for the gimmick, a triple heartline roll. This element is a beautiful visual, but it will be outdone soon. For now, we will head over to another beauty. Number 10, Dragon Khan at Portaventura. The bright red track of this 30-year-old B&M is an eye-catcher at Portaventura, even if the layout may sound similar by now. After the drop of the lift hill, riders will first head through a vertical loop, which is then followed by a dive loop. You will then rise back up through a vertical loop into a CRG roll, which brings you into the Cobra roll. The vertical loop we have just gone through is the next element, and after a turnaround, you will twist through 2 interlocking corkscrews. These were also the only 2 operating roller coasters with 8 inversions, so we are now bumping it up to 9 with, fittingly, our number 9, Alpen Fury at Canada's Wonderland. The newest roller coaster of this list. Alpen Fury opened up in 2025, and this premier ride Skyrocket blasts you out of Wonder Mountain into the first 2 inversions, the Fire Serpent roll. This is basically an inverted top hat with a roll back down. Riders will then go through a CRG stall before entering the Skyflyer loop. This brings you into another double inversion, the Icewinder roll, bringing the total so far to 6. The next 2 inversions will playfully wrap the track of Alpen Fury around itself, with a barrel roll and a barrel roll down drop. And then, to top it off, you have a CRG roll before you hit the brakes. Now, RCDB claims this coaster only has 7 inversions, as the Fire Serpent roll and Icewinder roll are both classified as only inverting once. What is your opinion on this? Let me know down in the comments. And while we're on the topic of controversial inversion counts, we have number 8, Steel Curtain at Kennywood. This massive SNS coaster luckily made it on the list, because it had been standing but not operating for 2 years, until it reopened earlier in 2025. After the impressive lift hill, riders will go through the Dragonfire dive drop, which is a truly unique element. This plunges riders into the banana roll, which adds 2 inversions. You will immediately encounter another double inversion afterwards, with the Sea Serpent element. This will send you towards an airtime hill and a dive loop, which is followed by a CRG stall underneath that same airtime hill. After twisting through a corkscrew, Steel Curtain will fit in one last sneaky inversion with a cutback. We are now 153 inversions in, and I will fast forward the next 6 entries to this list. It may be a bit weird, but they are all the same coaster model. This is the reason why I added the coaster with 7 inversions, and I was considering just merging these into one entry. It is Intamin's 10 inversion coaster, starting with number 7, Sick at Flamingoland. The layout is pretty similar to our number 11, Avalancha, so let's dedicate 1 or 2 inversions to each coaster. After the drop, Sick will send riders into the first inversion, a vertical loop. This is followed by an airtime hill, after which our number 6, Velikoluski Miaso Combina 2, takes riders into the Cobra roll, increasing the inversions to 3. Then number 5, Altair, will send riders through the double corkscrew. This brings us to the crazy element, which starts off at number 4, Crazy Coaster. Not 1 or 2 heartline rolls, but 4 in a row, as displayed by number 3, 10 inversion roller coaster. This puts the total count on 9 inversions, so the final inversion goes to the original 10 inversion coaster. Number 2, Colossus at Thor Park. It is another heartline roll, so Intamin took this gimmick to the next level here. 5 heartline rolls to break the inversion record. This record wouldn't last, because it got absolutely shattered by the current record holder. But there may be another contender, which is disputed. So I will give an honorable mention to Anjanaika at Fuji-Q Highland. This SNS 4th dimension coaster only has 3 actual inversion elements, but the second pair of track makes the seats invert 11 more times, totaling 14 inversions. But if we would count seats flipping upside down, we would open another can of worms with the SNS free spins. Still, Anjanaika's flips are all controlled. So would you count Anjanaika as having 14 inversions? If so, it would have had our current record holder beat, which is number 1, the Smiler at Alton Towers. Gerstlauer really pulled out all the stops for this creation. This massive track will invert riders 14 times, starting off with the heartline roll out of the station. After a lift hill, you will drop into the first of many corkscrews, followed by a dive loop. And in case you missed it, you will immediately lift up into another dive loop. From here, riders will head through a reverse sidewinder and a normal sidewinder, before immediately twisting through a corkscrew. That finishes the first half of the layout. 7 inversions done and 7 to go. After a vertical lift hill, you will once again drop into a corkscrew, which brings you into a sea serpent element. This is then followed by another double inversion, the Cobra roll. And with no time to breathe, you will get served another 2 corkscrews. This completes the insane 14 inversions the Smiler has to offer. This brings our total amount of inversions to a whopping 227. And if you may remember, we did have another record holder in this list. If you forgot which one it was, check out this video next.